Well, hello, and welcome back. In the last bash video, I forgot to mention how to move, rename, and copy files. So we're going to do that right now. And if at any point in this video you have that aha moment where something clicks for you, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So I have here my desktop shared. Thank goodness. I'm having to re-record this because I just forgot that. And we have our directories and files from last time. So I've got those up here. Moving and renaming files are exactly the same thing. You use the mv command. There is no such thing as a move. You're either renaming a file, and you might be renaming it to a different directory, but you're either renaming a file or you happen to be making a copy of the file with whatever name and then deleting the original. And the mv command will do the right thing. If you're trying to move between drives, it will move the file. It will make a copy of the file and then it will delete the other one. Otherwise, it'll be instantaneous because it'll just be a rename. So I'll go ahead and show this to you. For example, let's say that I want to move. Oh, I wasn't in the right directory. Let me go ahead and get in the right directory. Oh, I'm on a server. Oh, there we go. Let me get out of there. Okay, now I'm in the right directory on my Mac. And yeah, I don't need to move in directory. We're just going to move. Yeah, let's do this. We're going to move test.html to index.html. And that was just instantaneous. It was a rename. And now we're going to move index.html into dir2. Again, instantaneous. It's just a rename. Now, of course, we've got a big file. We've got a video file here. So I can show you. Normally, it would take a little bit of time to copy a large video file. But if I rename it, let's call this, well, XXX is actually a pretty bad name. Let's call it delete me, because I think this was just a junk temporary file. So you can see it takes no time. Now, the other command that we need to be familiar with is rsync. Rsync is how you copy files and directories. Now, some people tell you to use some other commands. There's two other commands in particular, which I'm not going to mention because they're bad and you shouldn't use them because they can do bad things. And I'm not going to explain that because that's not the purpose of this video. What I am going to explain is the correct way that will always work and always perform the proper behavior and not ever mess up your directories, which is rsync. So one thing that I need to do, I have an alias. We talked about aliases yesterday. I have an alias where I am always using the same options for rsync, and that alias is called rsync, so I don't have to edit anything to change it. But the options that pretty much you always want to use are AVHP, capital P, and that's for all, verbose, human readable. Human readable means instead of showing 1 billion bytes, show 1 gigabyte and stuff like that. And then progress means that it'll show a progress indicator. Now, for the kind of files that we're using, everything's going to be so fast, it's instant, so that doesn't matter. But when you've got big files that you're copying, it's nice to have the progress indicator. All right, so I'm going to show you not how to use my alias. You can go ahead and set up your own. I'd advise that you do that. But I'm going to show you how to use rsync. It's very simple. It works the same way as what we just had. We give it some options. And the A, meaning all, means not only copy all files and folders, but it also means copy all permissions and attributes of a file. So this is important because executable files have something that's called a permission that is executable. And if you copy a file, then you don't copy its executable status. It will not work as a command. And there are some other details about ownership. There's a system user, there's a home user. So my username, if I type, who am I? You can see that my user is AJ. So when I copy files, I want them to copy with the correct permissions. So this is a thing you'll get into later. You don't need to worry about it too much right now, but it is important to note. So what was I going to do? I was going to copy test.md into index.md. And I have this up here so that you can watch along and you can see things move in the Finder window as we go. And so that was that. And you can see there's a bunch of output here. It's really too much for a single copy of a file. So I might just want to do, for example, just A. I didn't realize that it always showed this much information without including the -v, but it does. Anyway, I'm going to use Rsync, same thing again. Oh, and the way that I remember this is alien versus predator with an H. So A, alien, V versus P, predator, and an H for good measure, I guess. So, and Rsync stands for remote sync. R as in remote, sync as in synchronize, because this is not only for copying local files and folders, but also remote files and folders. And we'll get into that in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of dir2, and we are going to call it dir1. And it is critically important. You must remember this. Put this down in your notes at gist.github.com, which is where I hope you've been keeping your notes up to this point. We deleted previously our dir1, so I'm making a copy of it again. The critically important thing to remember is that you must end directories with a slash. This is critical, because if you don't, then you get strange behavior where you get alternate copies of directories that you didn't intend to get, which I'll show just a second. So here we have dir1 and dir2, and they are now identical. The timestamps are identical. Everything about these is identical because we used those particular options or flags, however you want to call them. If I get rid of the slashes and I run this command again, look what happens. I'm going to hit Command K to clear my screen there. Now it copied dir2 into dir1. So let's go ahead and get rid of that, and let's run the command again. Now we have dir1, and inside it has dir2. So that is not what we intended to do. So that is why we need to put the slash at the end. It's kind of a weird thing, but it's easy enough to remember. When it's directory, you end it in a slash, because directories end in slashes anyway. That's just the way things are. Okay, so we did moving, renaming, copying, and we need to do, of course, the remote copy. So I'm going to show you here, if I want to copy my dir1 to my remote server, which I don't remember if that's actually the next video in this playlist, but we're going to do this here anyway. It is beyondcode.duckdns.org is my server, and we want to put this in as, say, dir1. So I enter that in, and voila! As it turns out, copying to a remote server is as simple as, or uploading, some might call this uploading to a remote server, is as simple as copying on a local file system. The difference is that you put the domain or IP address of the server that you are uploading to, followed by a colon, and then the directory that it goes to. And that is all. All right. So with that out of the way, I think we covered the important things that we need to cover. I think whatever is next up is what I said in the last video. Go ahead and look in the description button. If this was useful, give it a like, subscribe. But more importantly, go into the description and make sure that you're subscribing to the live channel if you want the live channel, and the Beyond Code channel if you want the edited videos, or both of them. All right. And there's also a little lifestyle channel that I do. You can subscribe to that if you want. It's just kind of a life tips, morning shower thoughts kind of thing. But with that out of the way, you have an excellent day, and I will catch you later. Adios.